Hey guys, I'm NeverSink's and today I want to talk about the last loot filter update, the 8.0 update, the changes I've done, the state of the game, the styles, the strictnesses, a lot of different things. Now I'm not a YouTuber and English is not my native language, so I'll be rambling a little bit and I hope you can bear with me. Now over the past weeks, uh, I've been testing and developing the new loot filter. Over the past half year, I've been preparing the technical update for this filter. This update has been in the works since over half a year, and it's definitely the largest filter update I've ever done. I have pretty much no doubts that there will be never a larger update than that, because in this update I have completely rewritten the loot filter. Filter bit has been migrated to AWS. The filter is now based on a small programming language I designed specifically for this task. Okay, full transparency, I'm also going to use it for other projects, but the exo language is specifically designed to fulfill certain needs that I have in the filter development. In any case, this is a huge update. And as you might know, with huge updates are usually a few steps back, well, I'll say X steps back and Y steps forward scenario. The goal is to do more steps forward than steps back. There's a saying that you should never change your running system, and I think we are a lot guided by beliefs like that, and I think it's one of the unhealthiest beliefs that is out there. If you're a developer in a company or have a business, or you will basically know that there's often reasons to change running systems. And one of the reasons, if you want to stay up to date, and PoE is a game that is very dynamic, it changes a lot. It doesn't only change in the way how it introduces new things, but how old things shift. Now think about rares. Rares have really changed their role in the game a lot over the past years. They went from some of the items you focus on in terms of finding and identifying to items that you basically only use if you self-craft. If you would ask me, one of the biggest problems in the whole game right now is that you can't find the gear you are using when it comes to rares. It's very unlikely for that to happen. If you want your tailwind elusive boots, what are your chances of finding these? Well, basically it's zero. It's not like 0.01% or zero. Like completely zero. Yes, you have uniques and you can still find some jewelry and maybe a good amulet, but most of the time you'll just sell them, and if you still want them, you'll craft them up. I think that's one of the reasons why Harvest was also such a big hit for the game, because, well, Harvest nerf, because it addresses the fact that people were able to create gear for themselves instead of just buying that. And we're doing it a little bit deterministically and having fun, having clear goals. But that's a different topic, I digress. Let's maybe move back to the topic of the filter. So, as I said, I tend to ramble a lot and I have no script for this video, so it's really just me talking to you about a lot of filter things. But I do have a goal in this video, and the goal is to tell why this change was necessary. Over the past years, the game has changed a lot. For instance, rares have lost a lot of their weighting and value when it comes to finding them. If you find a rare right now, after the first days and maybe weeks, pretty much your chances of this rare being good upon identifications are close to zero. By good I mean that you will either use that or will sell that. Now things are different on self-found, but self-found is a little bit of a special area anyway, where I always recommend you to customize your filter. The filter blade is quite good for that. Now, with these changes coming and the game changing, the filter needs to reflect these changes as well, because otherwise the filter will not be great, since it doesn't represent the meta anymore. If you think a few years back, some rares had, like rare jewelry had sounds at some point, and it was perfectly normal at this point, because you wanted these rares, chaos recipes was much more prevalent and people want to see that, so things have changed. And I've made a step, and the step is decreasing the highlight of rares. I want them to be still quite as visible in terms of font size, quite as easy to pick up, but I feel like at this point because the game just keeps dropping tons of them, I've redesigned the style a little bit for rares to not have a very strong background. So rares now have a strong opaque black background if they are tier 1. Wait, there's some customizations loaded. I was using the filter that I'm using in game right now. Let me reset. Okay, so and they become a little bit more transparent as they go into lower tiers. So tier 2 has this slightly grayish background, and tier 4 and tier 3 become very transparent. Now this is a really well thought out step, and I've collected a lot of feedback from different styles. If you've been using my Velvet, Gaia and Val style, you've seen that these styles already use a very similar technique, and I've received a lot of good feedback. And I think this technique is a good step because it also frees up a lot of the color pool. One of the jobs of the field is to make distinctively looking items. You want to have a good idea on what you're picking up and why. There's another, let's say, thought or belief that a good filter is one where you pick up every single item. And this is a nice idea if you're running a delirium map on your 300 exalted character, where basically everything you pick up is just profit orientated. But at the start and middle of the league, it's a very dynamic environment where you need certain items and so forth. And so you also have strategies such as, okay, how much space do I have, how much portals do I have, what's the risk versus reward. There's a lot of different things to think through. So signalizing your items properly is vital for a good filter. And I did some changes, and I think mostly the changes were received in a very positive way, with some changes receiving some negative feedback. Now, as I've been talking about this, a few steps forward, a few steps back scenarios, I think in this case we are 3 steps forward, 1 step back, maybe 2 steps back. The big improvement is the new language, the AWS migration on Filterblade. A lot of the new things are really good. I feel like the styles have been, the default style improvement has been quite a success. Please note that the latest version has also fine-tuned the default style a little bit, because I've received some feedback and I completely agree with that. For instance, I've fine-tuned the divination cards a little bit, but they now follow the same pattern as the normal currency. So they start with the black background and then move into the yellow, or into their own stronger colors, and then go into this white, strong color, white pattern, and then into the white background pattern, and so forth. And I've also fine-tuned the recipes in the final update that I've released yesterday. So now they look like that instead of the appearance they had before. So if you didn't like the first appearance that I released with the ultimatum leak, I got you covered. This has been updated as well. So I recommend you to update to the latest version. I think they're much easier to see now. But I am really glad to have shifted away from the gray color. The gray color has been causing issues on several map tile sets. It wasn't looking great. It has been causing troubles in terms of updatability because it was merging together with some other color pools. I think this color is a much better choice for the updatability and the maintainability of the filter in the future. As with everything, you can maintain and change these colors yourself on Filterblade as usual. Now, I'm still receiving and tracking feedback. One thing I will definitely not do, I'm not going to reverse these changes. Because every single change, every single color shift is kind of starting. So think about, you have only a very small limited amount of space, like an area. If you fill a certain area with a certain color, with a certain item pool, and then start expanding, it will start shifting together and become very similar to another item. So you need to plan your color areas accordingly. That's a little bit of a strategy I've been using in all of the past years, and it's been working out pretty wonderfully. For instance, if I'm giving the green colors primarily to the rare items, it means that if I will be putting other items into that area, it will be very hard to detect them, and it will be causing confusion on both ends, basically making the highlight meaningless for both items. Something that you might have seen that is a mistake I did. So I recently introduced this special highlight. While leveling, rare items, only while leveling, have a special background. Rare weapons have a red background if they are familiar users. Red caster items have a blue background. Now with the red archer gear, I have this tealish background. And this works well in a vacuum, but the problem is this background is too similar to the flask background, basically confusing both players who were wanting to see these items and at the same time causing confusion to the players who were relying on, well, who were using flask, so basically everyone. So it was just causing confusion in general. And that's why it's important to have a clean and distinct color scheme, and that's why it's important to sometimes merge existing colors together. Otherwise at some point you can't really understand what's what. For instance, one of the things I've done this update is I changed the rogue marker highlight to be the same as Prender's coin highlight. These sections have been merged in order for them to be distinct as a group, because if every single item has a different highlight at some point, well, it'll be too much, right? So if you dislike the current color scheme, first of all, please get the latest version. I know that it takes a little bit of getting used to, but people who have used this for a few days, pretty much all of them tell, well, I actually like the update. I actually enjoy the new color scheme. It took me a little bit more of a change, and I think in general it's an improvement. There has been a little bit of a problem with maps, where the maps have been leaking, well, the decorators from rares have been leaking through to maps. It's a little bit of a longer discussion. Basically, it caused some only rare maps between tier 6 and tier 10 to be highlighted a little bit like rares, and making it a little bit hard to distinguish between those two. They still made the map sound. They still had the map beam and the map map icon, but it's been hard to find them sometimes in the screen filled of rares. But it only affected rare items, rare maps. It only affected them in a certain map tier, and I think it's still very hard to miss them due to the sound and so forth, but it was certainly an annoyance. Now I fixed that, by the way, so in the latest version this no longer happens, so please get the latest version. I think you'll be enjoying that. Now I want to address another topic, that's styles. Why do the styles have to go on? Why is only custom sounds there? Well, to be quite frank, I went out of time. As I said, this update has been in the works since half a year, and I think the true benefits of this update are still about to shine. Remember when at the start of Heist, I made the Heist items a little bit too small and they've been hard to spot? Well, this was due to several things. One of the reasons was the Heist update introduced a ton of items, and it was hard to... It generated basically 600 lines of code in the filter alone only for the Heist rogue gear, because there was been so much stuff there. And on top of that, I couldn't test it anywhere, and I had no idea how to handle these things. So it wasn't also clear how to address these things. And a lot of different Heist items had a lot of different Heist tiers and gears. It was unclear how often it would drop. So at some point, I simply forgot the text size property, because there has been on low tier basis, because there's been so many things going on at the same time, and I couldn't test the filter anywhere. So it has been definitely a mistake, and it's bad that this happened. It didn't really cause too much damage. You could still see them with the map icon. Some people on Discord and on Reddit went a little bit crazy, but it only affected low bases, and only if you could still see them on the map. Now, the thing about that is, how do we fix it? How do you address that? I'm a single developer, and I'm getting help from 2 friend developers here as well for the filter blade work and for the item database, Dobnak and Haggis. But having a strong backbone structure that is maintainable, easy to update, that supports styles and certain decisions by itself is the way that how it works. So the 8.0 update is definitely a big step in that direction. Well, that's one of the things that will not be happening anymore. At least it will be really hard for it to happen, because the whole thing has so many safeguards and so many ways to ensure filter quality. So still, going back to styles, why did it have to happen? Because at some point I had to make a decision. Do I want to update, to switch to 8.0 now? Or do I want to postpone it even further and creating more diverging branches that I need to maintain? And at this point I made the risk and I decided, okay, I think it was 1 month before the leak start. I've been basically streaming every single day, 6 to 8 hours of development, just working on the structure. I decided, okay, I think I can make it in time. Unfortunately, during the last 3 weeks, I discovered that there has been a small bug, well, actually a big bug in my code. This doesn't affect the user in any way, but it made the generation of styles more complicated. Variables were handled a little bit wrongly on different scopes, and I need to restructure the whole thing. Sadly, it happens in one of the earlier aspects of the development that I did. So it is basically to fix that, I need to keep pulling that root, and as I keep pulling it, I'll be basically taking the whole tree out. So I have to rewrite big branches of code, and I didn't want to risk changing that bug back then. Before that bug is fixed, creating styles is a little bit of a problem. I can do it, but I fully know that they won't be on the same level as I envisioned that. On top of that, even without the bug, I was running out of time. I wanted to focus on making the 8.0 filter as robust and as strong as possible, and I actually think I succeeded in that goal. There has been very, very little problems and bugs aside from a few color problems at the start. Now there has been some tiering problems. That is to be expected when GG changes the whole tiering of every single item and makes every unique drop differently. For instance, no one expected that unique drops will suddenly from conquerors will suddenly start dropping in the world. So this is an info that if I'd had that, it would change the way the tiering works, right? Now, if you get the latest update, once again, it's now adjusted and fixed. So that's the basic problem with the economy. But even the latest filter, there are some anomalies that, by the way, I just want to address that in case you saw that. You might see that on the preview on filter blade, chromatic orbs are in the alchemy tier. And this is somewhat of a new occurrence. This has never happened before. Alteration orbs sometimes went on this tier, but never chromatic orbs. Why is that? And a simple answer is, ultimatum. Ultimatum works in a very different way in terms of its generation. It actually provides more chaos orbs than chromatic orbs, using orbs, alteration orbs, and pretty much anything else, causing to the fact that these orbs have become quite rare, and people have been strictening up their filters and mostly focusing on picking up expensive items. So yeah, this is just an effect of the economy. I'm not sure how to handle this yet, because if you go to customize into currency and you can see that currently a chromatic orb is worth 0.31 chaos. This is the alchemy tier, quite clearly the alchemy tier, and fusings are at an all-time high at 0.5 chaos, which is fairly okay for a new league, but still that made them move up in tier. So yeah, just a little bit of an explanation of what's going on. If you want to address that, you can switch them around in the filter blade yourself, but I really recommend you, as said 10 times already, please get the latest update. If you want to be informed about the latest updates, Discord and Twitter are your friends. Right, what else? So when will the styles return? This is really a very chaotic video. When will the styles return? Well, 1 second. So as far as I see right now, I suppose The first styles will be returning within a month. The way that I intend to do it now is within a month I want to release 2 to 4 styles, and I will be always releasing them in pairs. For instance, I'll rewrite the, let's say, the Azurite style, and then I'll release a new style as well. And let's say in a few weeks after that, I release the, I don't know, let's say the purple style and add the dark mode style as well. So with the new system, I'm also capable of creating completely new styles that are much more eloquent. In fact, the old system really suffered from the problem that the styles were, well, they weren't great. Some were terrible. And that was simply a limitation of the system. What it did is simply take a style, take a color, replace it with something else. So the purple style was literally just replacing 4 colors in the filter. And it was causing a lot of issues, and while a lot of people liked that style, it was terrible. Several things, several contrasts were not good looking. I think some people just got used to that. But I think it's a very acquired taste because they were just matching things that were not perfectly well designed to work together. And I want to deliver a little bit higher quality than that in the future and make the styles maintainable and potentially allow you guys to create custom styles as well. So once I have the groundwork done, I'll be releasing styles pairwise. And now I can create styles such as a minimalistic style that is very similar to GG's basic idea, but will still use my filtering. Or a dark mode style where items are highlighted completely in a different way and a much more simplified and slick experience. And this is something that's coming for the next weeks and months. So I'd like you guys, I'm asking you guys to bear with me a little bit. Now, I'm not going to return to the previous style as for the default style. I might implement some of the ideas of the previous style as an extra style, but I don't think so. I feel like the improvements overall have been vastly better. Rares are really losing any kind of importance in the game as of now. Yeah, we'll see. I'll think about that. I'm really interested in your feedback. So yeah, what else? We addressed the tiering, we addressed the styles, we addressed the strange prices in-game right now. And someone wants to buy my 7 league steps for 15 chaos. It is wonderful. Yeah, there's a lot of these strange scammers going around right now. I think they're expecting that people find these items randomly. Oh, wow. Anyway, so yeah, first of all, please keep your filter updated. There will be more updates in the coming days. The styles will be back, I promise you that. They had to go because to deliver the quality that I need on the core filter and to deliver the update, it's basically a necessary sacrifice. As of now, you can recreate these styles yourself using FilterBit quite easily. And we have some quite big ideas and updates in store for the future. I promise these will not be breaking any saves or changing a lot of things. So yeah, one more thing that I wanted to address, maybe 2 more things that I wanted to address. First of all, maps. There's a new feature that I think is personally think is quite good. Maps that drop in a map upgrades have a red border. So if you find a map of tier 2 in a tier 1 map, the tier 2 map will have a red border. Just telling you that. I think it's a really cool idea, and I think it's really nice. Some people have been complaining about map sustain. Now I've already talked about the rare map highlight problem. Other than that, I fixed that, and I think even before that, basically no one missed their maps, or maybe you missed like 1 map per league, so it's negligible. And I really don't think that happens. So, and it's probably an extreme example. I'm pretty sure no one missed anything there. And this has also already been fixed in the latest update. Other than that, I've done there's no hidden maps. So yeah, To be honest, I think that's mostly Reddit being salty, and so the map sustain is a little bit hard, but if you arc your maps and run your masters, I don't think you'll be running into any issues. That being said, I did find it a little bit hard at the start of the league. And I also think there's definitely problems with the ultimatum league, but I feel like, you know, Reddit is a little bit like a flood, so if people are unhappy about one thing, they're unhappy about basically everything. It's just a wave of negativity, and I feel like right now it's a little bit of a big wave of negativity there. So there's certainly problems in Ultimatum League, but there's also a lot of good things. Maybe risk-reward balance is not one of them. But yeah, then again, there's also a lot of good points there. I think you just need to take these things in moderation. Anyway, I'm once again rambling. I've explained that feature. Then another feature, as I've previously touched upon, when leveling, red items mean red rare borders and red background and border rares are your melee weapons. Blue ones are your caster gear, and green ones are your archer gear. Now, obviously, this is not great. This looks too much like a flask. I'll fix it. Alright, well, I think that's basically it. I'm pretty sure I forgot like 5 points that I wanted to address. If you have any further questions, please ask them in the comments. I'm also available for discussion on the Discord channels, but please write them in the discussion, suggestion, and channels and so forth. I am being completely flooded by PMs, emails, Discord questions, Reddit questions, and so forth right now, and I can't answer everything that's going on right now. And the one thing I can promise you that I'll keep listening to feedback, that Styles will be back, and that I'll try my best to deliver the quality that you guys wish for and that I personally want to stand for. I also really enjoy the current league. I feel like there's some improvement potential there, and I'm a little bit upset that there's no real endgame thing going on there anymore. But I killed Awakener 8 yesterday. Yeah, basically enjoying my pretty generic, slightly modified Burning Arrow build right now. And guys, I hope to hear from you next time. Feel free to join my stream. I'll be playing more PoE and developing more PoE soon. And if you have questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Have a nice day. Bye.